Good afternoon. We're back. This is Congressman Jeff Denham filling in for a vacationing Ray Appleton. My guest this second hour is Congressman Bill Shuster, who's just recently been elevated to the rank of chairman of the subcommittee on railroads. And let me just lay this out for the callers. Obviously, we're having new Republicans and a long-term 10-year Republican here now talking about rail. But even the Democrats have shown some skepticism here recently. Our treasurer, Bill Lockyer, recently said he's sold a very small amount for planning of the bond that has been passed by voters. He sold a very small amount just for planning, but any large amount of bond sales to finance active construction of the project, I don't think we can do that in a state of California without a disciplined, genuine business plan that shows people and investors how the system's going to be run and paid for. So far, we don't have that plan. That's our treasurer, Bill Lockyer. Been a Democrat activist and legislator, held many different statewide positions. He's in charge of selling the bonds, and he has not seen a plan that makes sense here. And just to lay it out even further, Prop 1A was the bond that was passed in 2008, had a capital cost of $33 billion. California taxpayers were on the hook for $9.95 billion of that. So the rest of the money was supposed to come from private investors and the federal government. Now there's a big money grab going on from the federal government. The president continues to promise more and more stimulus dollars. California continues to try to grab more money from other states. And at the same time, there has been not only no business plan, but no private investors. Why? Because the plan has ballooned from $33 billion to $43 billion. Now, most recent estimates, $65 billion. Ridership numbers don't add up. And people are saying, show us the plan, show us the investors, show us that this makes sense. So I've invited Congressman Bill Shuster on here today. We've been talking about oversight. We've got a number of calls. I'd like to get to everybody, but let me first start with Gene from Fresno. Welcome to the show. Gene, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. I think Congressman Shuster has it right on the money with his impression of where this high-speed rail money should go. I think in that corridor in the Northeast is perfect, but I also don't think that we can afford that the rail here. Sure, it's going to create some jobs, but who's going to write the checks to pay those jobs? I think in the end, our state will be on the hook for paying the thing off, and we absolutely cannot afford it. I would like to drive a Rolls Royce, but I can't afford it. And sometime in an ideal world, we might be able to have high-speed rail, but it sure as heck isn't now.
Well, Gene, I got to agree with you. I appreciate you saying. I think you used the term. I hit the nail on the head. I think you did it also there. And as Jeff has pointed out, if there isn't a solid business plan, you're absolutely right. The taxpayer is going to be on the hook. Sometimes we say the federal government's going to be on the hook, the state government's going to be on the hook, the local government's going to be on the hook, but we got to always remember that those local, state, and federal dollars are coming out of your pocket. And you've got to do things that make sense from a business standpoint, that make sense in long term, that have a long-term return on investment. And if you've got one of the chief financial officers in California saying, "I'm not going to sell these bonds because there's not a solid plan," that gives me real pause to say to go into these hearings and say to the folks in the federal government that are putting this money out there, what's going on? Why are we doing this if we don't have a solid business plan? And that includes how you're going to pay for it. And I think that if you build something today that, there are folks that I've talked in Los Angeles and folks in San Francisco that really want to have the first piece of it between Fresno and Bakersfield, because I think they think if they build it, then it's going to eventually get to San Francisco and Los Angeles, and hope is not a very good strategy. You got to do something that's not just hoping it's going to happen, but that you know it'll work. And again, I've some great concerns, and we're going to go into oversight on these issues as we go through this Congress and ask some of the tough questions. And I know that's what Jeff wants to do. He's encouraged me. He's encouraged Chairman Micah to not only do we come out there to hear it, see it firsthand, but to hold these hearings. And as we work through on the legislation that's due to come addressing these issues, we're going to again look at it with a very hard look and see if it makes sense.
Thanks a lot, Gene. You know, Congressman Shuster, it's been frustrating here from a local level that I continue to see, you know, folks here locally, you know, obviously we've got the $9.95 billion, the taxpayers are on the hook here, but it's almost like there's this magic pot of money, and if Florida doesn't use it, or Ohio or Wisconsin doesn't use it, you know, we can get free money that we won't have to pay for. But that's a cost to every taxpayer. It's a cost to the future that our kids are going to have to pay for. And, you know, I've got a huge concern, you know, as a parent on where this money's going to come from, on our debt, and, you know, certainly on oversight. And even if this magic pot of money were out there, and even if it was free money for California, can we really afford it long term? I mean, you've got Amtrak where you're at, too. And it's the only corridor that I believe pays for itself, and we subsidize the rest of Amtrak by $1 billion a year. I mean, you know, are the people in your district willing to subsidize our new bullet train here in California because, you know, a plan didn't add up from the get-go?
And that's a great point, Jeff. The Northeast Corridor is the only corridor that pays for itself. It has half the ridership of the entire Amtrak system, but we still pay billions of dollars from the federal government, from people's taxpayers' dollars that never ride on Amtrak. So I think that's a great question. And you point out, I was just in front of a class of sophomores at Rockwood High School in Somerset, Pennsylvania, and I told them basically the same thing you said there. I use the term, it's not magic. This money comes out of your pockets, your hard-earned dollars, and we are taking it into Washington. In fact, what we're taking in, we're spending 30 to 40% more than we have, driving up debt. A big chunk of the federal deficit, or the federal government, what it pays out is just in interest payments. We're just paying off our creditors, and that money is not working effectively and efficiently to build the economy up and to create the jobs that we need. So the time has come. We all have to stand up and take account of ourselves and look in the mirror and say, look, I've got to be responsible, and I know that when the federal or the state or the local government has to cut things, that we have to be on board. We have to be in a shared sacrifice mode, or we're going to go down the financial drain with the rate we're going. I know California's got big budget problems. Pennsylvania, we're going to probably be about a $4 to $5 billion budget deficit in Pennsylvania, and our governor's come out with a tough budget. And we have to do the same thing at the federal level. We've got to make sure we're good stewards of taxpayer dollars.
Absolutely, and the time has come. We've got to actually take another break. I sure appreciate you coming on to the show and talking about high-speed rail. Look forward to having you back here in our community again. This is Congressman Bill Shuster, the chair of the Rail Committee. This is high-speed rail is an issue that we're going to be not only addressing, but want to thank him for the aggressive oversight that we're putting behind this. But it's not a magic pot of money. We can't afford to continue to see stimulus dollars that should be cutting our debt right now, and instead they're being thrown at a project without a plan, without ridership numbers, and no long-term aspect on how this thing is going to be paid for. This is Congressman Jeff Denham. I'm filling in for a vacationing Ray Appleton, and you're listening to KMJ.